Back in May of 2014, I got my diving kit together and took myself up to the beach at Kingsdown. The intention being was to swim out until I got about 2 or 3 metres of depth underneath me, sit on the seabed and check to make sure my equipment functioned correctly, and I still felt comfortable underwater. Everything was fine, and I had a full tank of air, so I decided to go for a little swim. Straight out, straight back, on the compass. Nothing too difficult. What I didn't expect, however, was to find a German Battle of Britain crash site. The seabed in the area is flat and not particularly interesting. And after a long and uneventful swim, I was thinking about turning back when ahead of me I saw a propeller blade. Hardly believing my eyes, I laid my hands on it, looked up and saw another one a little bit further out. I moved the two together, tied my distance line to one and did a quick search of the area. I couldn't stay long, my air was getting low. I found the engine, but no further propeller blades and scattered fragments of aluminium. I returned to the propeller blades, made a quick decision as to which one I'd try and recover, strapped the blade to me and remained firmly stuck to the seabed. Using every bit of buoyancy I had, including my surface marker buoy, I just made it to the surface, but quickly discovered that when I stopped swimming, I started sinking. However, I made it after a long and arduous swim back to shore. The best place to take any aircraft-related artefact for identification is the Kent Battle of Britain Museum at Hawkinge. David Brocklehurst took one look at it, identified it as German, and just 2 minutes with a tape measure narrowed that down to a Dornier 17. On the 9th of November 1940, a local man standing on the cliffs at Kingsdown saw an aircraft flying low, misfiring and trailing smoke before it tumbled out of the sky. He rushed to the cliff edge, but when he looked down at the sea, there was no sign of the aircraft. It had sunk instantly and taken its 4 crew with it. When the plane hit the water, it broke up and sank almost immediately. The wreckage went on to lay undisturbed for the next 64 years. However, that's not the end of the story. For 3 of the 4-man crew are still buried in Deal Cemetery. Now you'd expect 3 enemy airmen to be buried in a corner of the cemetery with no headstone, but they were treated exactly the same as our own fallen, and now lie among the other war graves at Hamilton Road Cemetery. To one side is a soldier from the Shropshire Regiment, and on the right-hand side is the grave of a Royal Marine. The pilot was eventually washed up in a different part of the beach, and now lies in the Cannock Chase Military Cemetery. Death doesn't distinguish between friend nor foe, and I think it's only right and proper that we do the same. The propeller blade is difficult to film in its entirety, and after 60 years underwater, the corrosion, the action of the waves and the impact of the crash has turned it into something sculptural. What was once part of a war machine has a beauty of its own now. What caused the aircraft to crash may never be known, but the propeller blade that I left behind had a hole in it the size of a fist, so my theory is anti-aircraft fire rather than fighter action. For whatever reason, the propeller blade has been preserved, along with the memory of those 4 young men who died on an autumn day back in 1940. The propeller blade will eventually go to the Kent Battle of Britain Museum. Now, if you like my story, you'll find hundreds more like it here, and it's well worth a visit. I'd also like to thank David Brocklehurst, who runs the museum, for his advice, some of his photographs and the initial identification. So thanks to him and his staff, and to you for watching.